Hello and welcome to our video summary of The Clerk's Tale. This is part of our Canterbury Tales video series where we look at each of the 24 stories written in the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. And should you want to find our analysis and summary of other stories in the Canterbury Tales, do make sure you check out our channel and you'll find it all in there. So in this video, I will summarise all you need to know about this story, and I'll also provide some analysis that you should be aware of when reading and writing about this tale. So let's get started. So the clerk, one of the pilgrims, is an Oxford student, and he's liked by most of the pilgrims. He's poor and he spends all his money on books. In the prologue, we hear the summoner finishing his story, and the host remarks that the clerk has barely spoken since they started their journey. He asks him to tell a fun and lively tale, and the clerk happily agrees. He says he'll tell a story that he heard from a man named Francis Petrarch, who was a real poet and scholar. The story starts in Italy, where a king named Walter ruled over the land. He was happy and free, but his people wanted him to ensure an heir to the throne. One day, a group of lords came to ask him to take a wife. Walter agreed and said that the lords could choose the wedding day and he will choose his bride. The day of the wedding is now fast approaching. There's a poor man, Janicula, who has a daughter, Griselda, who live near the palace. Walter has seen her in passing and asks Janicula permission to marry her. He agrees. Walter then asks Griselda and tells her that if they marry, she must promise to obey him always, and she agrees to this. They marry and soon have a daughter. The king decides to test his wife's loyalty. He tells her that someone is going to come and take their daughter, and in hopes that this does not change her love for him. She assures him that it will not. And sure enough, a courier comes and takes the child, and she says nothing. 4 years later, and they have a son. And Walter decides to test his wife again and tells her that the son will also be taken. And again, she agrees and says nothing as he is taken. Years later, when the children are older, Walter decides on one more test. He forges a church document saying that he is free to marry other women. He shows Griselda, who accepts sadly, and she returns to her father's home. He orders his children to be brought back from Bologna, where they're staying with his sister. Walter will pretend to marry his daughter. Griselda helps with the preparations with no idea that the girl she's helping is actually her own daughter. Walter confesses to her, saying that these are her own children, and he praises how she handled all his tests and they live the rest of their lives happily. And when Walter dies, his son takes the throne, and that ends this part of the story. So this story is an example of a very simple but a very good story. The other tales have all dealt with very serious topics and they have very complex lessons and messages, but this story is very simple and easy. It's in response to the wife of Bath's story, and while she talked about women having power over their husbands, this story talks about men having power over their wives. So that's it for now. If you found this video useful, do give us a thumbs up and please do subscribe to our channel for more educational videos and free revision sheets. Thank you so much for listening.